Pain is meant to break you. However, mine was about to break them instead. While my children whispered about allowing me to suffer until I relinquished everything, I was recording them. My name is Susan, and I am 72 years old. I never anticipated sharing this story, but through my years, I have learned that sometimes those you trust most can inflict the deepest betrayal. Before I delve into the events that transpired, I would like to know where you are watching from. Please share your city or state in the comments below. It is comforting to know that I am not alone in this and that my story may resonate with someone in need. Let me take you back to where it all began. 15 months ago, I was diagnosed with severe spinal stenosis. If you are unfamiliar with it, consider yourself fortunate. It is a narrowing of the spinal spaces that exerts pressure on the nerves. The pain is indescribable. Some days it felt as though hot railroad spikes were being driven through my lower back and down my legs. On other days, I could hardly stand up straight. My doctor, Dr. Morrison, prescribed pain medication, not the forgettable kind, but the serious type that came with warnings and strict dosing schedules. Yet it was the only thing that made life bearable. Without it, I could not sleep, walk, or care for myself. I had been a widow for 8 years by then. My husband, Frank, passed away suddenly from a heart attack, leaving me with our home in Riverside, California, a comfortable savings account, and several investment properties we had purchased over the years. We built our life from nothing. We married in 1975, 2 kids fresh out of high school with big dreams and empty pockets. Frank worked construction during the day and attended trade school at night to obtain his contractor's license. I worked as a waitress and eventually began catering small parties from our tiny kitchen. We saved every penny. When Frank earned his contractor's license in 1982, we bought our first home, a fixer-upper in Riverside that he renovated himself. I recall him working on that house until midnight most nights, determined to make it perfect for our family. The catering business grew steadily through word of mouth. Soon, I was catering weddings, corporate events, and anniversary parties. Frank's contracting business flourished as well. While we were not wealthy, we were comfortable and secure. In 1995, we purchased our first rental property, a duplex that needed work. Frank renovated it during his off hours, and we rented out both units. This was followed by a second property in 1999 and a third in 2004, each carefully chosen, renovated, and managed. These were not get-rich-quick schemes. They were our retirement plan, a security blanket forged through decades of hard work and sacrifice. Unfortunately, Frank never enjoyed that retirement. His heart attack in 2017 was sudden and shocking. One moment he was fine, the next he was gone. The doctors assured me it was quick and that he suffered little, but I suffered immensely. We had 2 children, my son Derek, 45, and my daughter Nicole, 42. Derek lived about 20 minutes away with his wife Amber. He worked in sales but changed jobs frequently, always chasing the next big opportunity. Frank often worried about Derek's stability and his tendency to overextend himself financially. More than once, we had helped him out of tight spots, a car repossession here, a missed mortgage payment there. We never asked for repayment. He was our son. Amber did not work and spent most of her time at yoga studios and nail salons, or so it seemed. They drove a BMW we had helped them finance and had 2 teenage boys who rarely visited their grandmother, too busy with sports or friends. Nicole lived just 10 minutes from me and worked as a dental hygienist. She had been divorced for 5 years from a man who had cheated on her repeatedly. I supported her through that divorce, both financially and emotionally. She seemed more attentive than Derek, visiting twice a week, bringing groceries, and watching our favorite cooking shows with me, which I naively believed was out of love. When Frank passed, both Derek and Nicole appeared devastated. They assisted with funeral arrangements and supported me during those painful first weeks. I thought our shared grief had brought us closer together, that losing Frank had reinforced their understanding of family. I was mistaken. When my diagnosis came, both expressed concern, offering to help with doctor appointments, grocery shopping, and medication pickups. Derek even suggested I give him a key to my house for emergencies, which I did without hesitation. In retrospect, I can pinpoint exactly when things began to shift. About 6 months into my diagnosis, Derek started asking questions about my finances. Mom, do you have everything organized in case something happens? Are your accounts in order? Have you thought about updating your will? I dismissed it as natural concern for a mother. Then Nicole chimed in, questioning whether managing all my properties was too stressful and suggesting I consider selling or transferring ownership to simplify matters. I had a will, of course, drafted years ago with Frank, dividing everything evenly between Derek and Nicole. The house, the savings, the 3 rental properties, all split fairly, but I was very much alive and had no intention of going anywhere anytime soon. Approximately 3 months ago, my pain worsened significantly. Dr. Morrison adjusted my medication, increasing the dosage slightly, and prescribed physical therapy, but the medication remained my lifeline. I kept my pills in the kitchen cabinet next to the coffee maker, taking them at the same times daily. This routine was sacred, as the pain was relentless. One morning, I went to take my medication, only to find the bottle nearly empty. I was certain I had just refilled it 3 days prior. Counting the remaining pills revealed only 4 left. This made no sense. I must have miscounted at the pharmacy, I told myself, though deep down, I knew I hadn't. When I called in for a refill, the pharmacist informed me that due to the medication's nature, I could not obtain more until the scheduled refill date. The ensuing 6 days felt interminable. The pain was unbearable. I rationed the remaining pills, cutting them in half and spacing them out as much as I could tolerate. I could barely sleep or move, spending most of my time in my recliner, trying not to cry. During this time, both Derek and Nicole visited. When I mentioned my missing medication and the pain I was enduring, Derek frowned and asked if I was sure I was keeping track. Nicole nodded in agreement, suggesting it was easy to lose count, especially when in pain. Their certainty made me briefly doubt myself, despite having been sharp as a tack my entire life. When I finally received my refill, relief washed over me. 2 weeks later, it happened again. This time I was certain something was amiss. I had been counting obsessively and knew precisely how many pills should remain in that bottle. Upon opening it, I discovered a third of them were gone. Someone was stealing my medication. But who? I lived alone, and the only people with keys were Derek and Nicole. I decided to test my theory. I relocated the medication to a different cabinet in the upstairs bathroom without informing anyone. I counted the pills carefully, 32 exactly, and documented the date and count in a small notebook. 3 days later, Derek stopped by unexpectedly, claiming he was just checking on me. As he went to the kitchen for a glass of water, I observed him closely from my recliner. He lingered longer than necessary, and when he returned, his expression was odd, confused, perhaps frustrated. After he left, I slowly ascended the stairs and counted the pills in the bathroom cabinet, 32, all still there. It was either him or Nicole, or both, taking my medication to force me into pain and vulnerability. But why? I was not helpless. Pain may have aged my body, but my mind remained sharp. If my children were indeed stealing my medication, they had a motive, and I was determined to uncover it. I ordered a small voice-activated recording device online, resembling a pen, capable of recording for hours with a long battery life. I also purchased a larger recorder to hide in a less conspicuous place. I placed one recorder in the kitchen, concealed behind the cookie jar on top of the refrigerator, and another in the living room, tucked among books on the shelf. I kept the pen recorder in my pocket during their visits. For a week, nothing unusual occurred, just normal conversations. I began to question my paranoia, wondering if there might be another explanation. Then one Tuesday afternoon, after taking my medication, I was drowsy in my recliner when I heard the front door open. Derek's voice called out, "Mom, you awake?" I kept my eyes closed, breathing steadily. "She's out," Derek said, but not to me. Nicole responded, "Perfect, we need to talk." My heart raced, but I remained still, maintaining slow, even breaths. I could hear them moving into the kitchen. "She's not going to last much longer like this," Nicole said. "Did you see how much weight she's lost?" "That's kind of the point," Derek replied, his voice cold and calculating. "The worse she gets, the more willing she'll be to make changes." I felt ice coursing through my veins. They were intentionally causing me agony, deliberately making me suffer. I still think we should have just talked to her about updating the will. Nicole suggested, though her voice lacked conviction. Right? And have her split everything evenly again? Derek scoffed. Those rental properties alone are worth over $2 million, plus the house, savings accounts, and investments. We're talking about nearly 3.5 million total. I'm not sharing that 50-50 when I'm the one doing all the work. Then what's the timeline? Nicole asked. Another few weeks of the medication issue should do it. She'll be desperate enough by then. I've already drafted new documents. We get her to sign power of attorney over to me, claiming it's just to help manage things while she's unwell. We start transferring assets. She's so out of it from pain and lack of medication that she won't even realize what's happening until it's too late. And if she fights it, we commit her. We have documentation of her forgetting her medication and losing pills. We can make a case for early dementia, lack of capacity. Either way, we get control. I heard someone opening the refrigerator, the clinking of bottles as they made themselves at home while plotting my destruction. What about Henderson? Nicole asked. Won't he question why she's suddenly signing everything over? Henderson won't be involved, Derek replied. I found a different lawyer who doesn't know the family. As far as he's concerned, this is just an elderly woman making reasonable arrangements for her care. I'll have medical documentation to support it. You've really thought this through. Someone had to, Derek said. We've been good kids. We've visited and helped. But at some point, we need to think about our own futures. Mom's going to end up in a nursing home eventually anyway. This way, at least the money stays in the family instead of being drained by medical bills. She's not dying, Derek. She has spinal stenosis, not cancer. Not yet, but she's 72. How many good years does she really have left? Why should we wait until there's nothing left to inherit? Subscribe to this channel if you want to hear how this story ends, because what happened next will shock you. What about Emma? Your boys? Don't you think they'd want their grandmother to be comfortable? Derek asked. They'll get their inheritance when we're gone. Right now, this is about securing our future. Amber's been on me for months about upgrading the house, and you've been complaining about your car. This is our ticket. Let her suffer, Nicole said, her resignation evident. She'll sign everything over soon enough. They continued discussing specifics: lawyers, power of attorney structure, which assets to transfer first. Every word was recorded, every detail of their plan captured in crystal clarity. After they left, I remained in that recliner for another hour, not from pain or medication, but from shock, heartbreak, and a grief so profound it felt like Frank had died all over again. These were my children, the ones I had raised and loved unconditionally. I had given them everything I could. Frank and I had financed their educations, assisted with down payments on their first homes, and been there for every milestone and crisis. Once the shock subsided, clarity took its place. I spent the night listening to the recording repeatedly, ensuring I had heard what I thought I had, confirming it was explicit enough. Every incriminating word, every damning sentence. The next morning, I contacted my lawyer, not the family lawyer we had used for years, as Derek had mentioned him by name in their conversation, indicating he had already been consulted. Instead, I reached out to a new lawyer, Patricia Hoffman, who specialized in elder law and estate planning. Her office was in San Diego, far enough that Derek and Nicole would not randomly encounter her. Mrs. Patterson, she greeted me when I explained my situation. I need you to come to my office and bring that recording. It took me 2 days to feel well enough to drive. I began hiding my medication in a different spot each day, rotating between various rooms and cabinets. The pills stopped disappearing, and with manageable pain came mental clarity. Patricia Hoffman, in her 50s, with kind eyes and a firm handshake, listened to the entire recording without interruption. When it concluded, she leaned back in her chair and looked at me. Mrs. Patterson, do you understand what this recording represents? My children planning to steal from me while causing me physical suffering. Yes, it's elder abuse. It's theft, potentially fraud if they had succeeded in getting you to sign documents under duress. This is serious. I know. What do you want to do? That was the pivotal question. Did I want them arrested? Prosecuted? They were my children, and despite everything, I had loved them their entire lives. But love shouldn't hurt this way. Love shouldn't allow you to suffer for profit. I want to protect myself, I finally replied. I want to ensure they can never do this to me or anyone else, and I want them to understand what they have done. Patricia nodded. Here's what we're going to do. Over the next week, we collaborated to draft a new will. Not only did it disinherit Derek and Nicole, it explicitly stated the reasons why. Every property, account, and asset was redirected. My estate would be divided into 3 parts. 1/3 to Emma, Nicole's daughter, held in trust until she turned 30. 1/3 to various charities, the local women's shelter, the food bank, and the hospital foundation where Frank had been treated. And the final third to establish a scholarship fund in Frank's name for students pursuing vocational trades, something he would have cherished. Derek and Nicole would each receive exactly $1, along with a detailed letter explaining their disinheritance. However, the will was only part of the strategy. Patricia also helped me establish an irrevocable trust for the properties, removing them from my estate entirely. She set up a healthcare directive with a third-party trustee, ensuring that neither Derek nor Nicole could make medical decisions for me. We documented everything: the missing medications, the dates, the patterns. Now, she said, comes the hard part. We need to let them think they're winning. For 3 weeks, I played the role they expected. I called them less frequently, moved slower during visits, and complained more about my pain and confusion, expressing how challenging it was to manage everything alone. Derek eagerly seized the opportunity. Mom, I really think we need to talk about getting you some help. Maybe someone to manage your finances, your medications, your appointments. You've been forgetting so much lately. Have I? I asked, allowing my voice to quaver slightly. You have. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It happens to everyone eventually. But I'm worried about you. What an actor he was. If I hadn't heard the recording, I might have believed him. I don't know, Derek. I've always handled things myself. I know, Mom, but wouldn't it be easier to have someone help? Someone you trust? I could take care of everything. We could set up a power of attorney, just temporary, until you feel better. Maybe you're right, I said quietly. I am. You're so tired. I could almost see the dollar signs in his eyes. 2 days later, he returned with official-looking documents, power of attorney papers, just as he had promised. However, these documents would give him control over everything: my accounts, properties, healthcare decisions, everything. If you could just sign here, Mom, and here, initial here. I picked up the pen, allowing my hand to tremble slightly. Derek, I'm not sure I understand all this legal language. It's fine, Mom. It's just standard stuff. It allows me to help you manage things while you're not feeling well. That's all? I inquired, as if stripping me of autonomy and stealing my life savings was merely standard procedure. You know, I said, setting down the pen, I think I'd like my lawyer to look at this first to ensure I understand everything. Derek's expression tightened. Mom, that's really not necessary. This is straightforward, and honestly, the lawyer fees would just be a waste of your money. Still, I'd feel more comfortable just to be safe. Mom, his voice took on an edge. Are you saying you don't trust me? I'm your son. I'm trying to help you. Of course I trust you, sweetheart. I just want to be careful. You understand, don't you? He left shortly after, visibly frustrated. Once his car pulled away, I called Patricia. He took the bait, I informed her. Perfect. Now, here's what we do next. Patricia scheduled a meeting at her office, contacting Derek and Nicole separately to explain that I had important documents to sign regarding my estate, requiring their presence as beneficiaries and witnesses. They both agreed immediately, eager to believe they were about to get what they desired. On the day of the meeting, I awoke early, took my medication at the proper time, safely stored where only I knew to find it. I dressed carefully in my best navy blue dress, the one Frank always said made me look distinguished. I styled my hair and donned my pearl earrings. Looking in the mirror, I barely recognized the woman staring back. 3 months prior, I had been broken, desperate, suffering. Today, I was ready for war. Patricia's office was on the 3rd floor of a modern building in downtown San Diego. The conference room featured floor-to-ceiling windows and a long mahogany table. Upon my arrival, Patricia greeted me warmly and led me inside. They'll be here in about 10 minutes, she said. Are you ready? I have been ready for weeks. Derek arrived first with Amber in tow, surprised by the formal setting and serious atmosphere. Mom, I didn't realize this was such a big production. You feeling okay? I'm feeling much better, actually, I replied, feeling clearer. He kissed my cheek, and I allowed it. Amber, sitting beside him, appeared uncomfortable, frequently glancing at her phone. Nicole arrived 5 minutes later, apologizing for her tardiness due to traffic. She kissed my cheek as well, and it took everything in me not to pull away. Once everyone was seated, Patricia took her place at the head of the table, dressed in a gray suit, exuding a commanding presence. Thank you all for coming. As you know, Mrs. Patterson has requested my assistance with some important estate planning matters. Before we proceed with signing any documents, there are some things that need to be addressed. Derek leaned forward, his salesman's smile fully engaged. Of course, whatever Mom needs, we're here to help in any way we can. I observed him perform his concern, his care. He was skilled at it. Years of sales training had taught him how to read people and say what they wished to hear. But I knew the truth now. Mrs. Patterson, Patricia gently prompted, would you like to explain or shall I? I looked at my children, truly looked at them. Derek, with his confident smile, so assured he had won. Nicole, with her feigned concern, already checking her watch as if she had somewhere better to be. Amber remained on her phone, oblivious to what was about to unfold. I took a deep breath. This was the moment I had prepared for weeks. I know what you did, I stated quietly. The room seemed to freeze. Derek's smile faltered slightly. What? I know what both of you did. The medication, the planning, all of it. Nicole's face drained of color as she glanced at Derek and then back at me. Mom, I don't know what you're talking about. Let her suffer, I quoted, my voice steady despite the emotions swirling within me. She'll sign everything over soon. The ensuing silence was deafening. Derek's smile vanished entirely, his expression shifting through confusion, recognition, and finally fear. Nicole's grip on the table tightened, her knuckles turning white. Those were your exact words, Derek. Yours and Nicole's, from your conversation in my kitchen 3 weeks ago, where you discussed stealing my medication, forcing me into agony, and taking everything I own. Mom, you're confused, Derek stammered, though his voice lacked conviction. I'm not confused. My voice was sharp enough to make them flinch. Amber finally looked up from her phone, eyes wide with shock. I'm 72 years old, and I have spinal stenosis. That doesn't make me stupid, deaf, or willing to let my own children torture me for money. Patricia opened her briefcase and produced a small device. Mrs. Patterson recorded the conversation in question. Would you like to hear it? No, Derek interjected quickly. That's not necessary. Patricia pressed play, and their voices filled the room, crystal clear, unmistakable. She's not going to last much longer like this. Did you see how much weight she's lost? That's kind of the point. The worse she gets, the more willing she'll be to make changes. I watched their expressions as they listened to themselves plan my suffering. I saw Derek's confident facade crumble piece by piece, his jaw tightening and his hands gripping the armrests of his chair. Nicole's eyes filled with tears, though whether from shame or fear, I could not discern. She covered her mouth with her hand as if she could somehow retract the words echoing throughout the conference room. When the recording reached the part about committing me, about fabricating evidence of dementia, Nicole let out a small sob. Derek, however, remained stone-faced, calculating his next move even now. The recording continued, their voices filling every corner of the room, leaving no doubt, no room for misinterpretation. How many good years does she really have left? Why should we wait until there's nothing left to inherit? When it finally ended, the silence was suffocating. Patricia stopped the playback and set the device between us. Amber rose slowly, clutching her purse to her chest. I need to leave, she stammered. I can't. I didn't know about any of this. She looked at Derek with an expression I had never seen before, pure disgust. We're done. Do you hear me? We are done. Without another word, she walked out, leaving Derek staring at the closed door. Smart woman, I thought. She knew when to cut her losses. What do you want? Derek finally asked, his voice different now, no longer smooth and charming, but bitter and defeated. Money? Is this blackmail? I almost laughed, but the sound that escaped my lips was more like a gasp. You think this is about money, Derek? You were willing to let me suffer, your own mother, to steal money I would have given you eventually anyway. Do you understand how sick that is? How twisted? Mom, please. He leaned forward, reaching for my hand. Don't touch me. Don't you dare touch me. Nicole was now openly crying, mascara running down her cheeks. We made a mistake. We're so sorry. We'll make it right. I promise. We'll make it right. I turned to her. Nicole, you watched me suffer. You knew I was in pain, that I couldn't sleep, that I could barely function. And you did nothing. Worse than nothing. You participated. You came to my house, sat on my couch, ate my food, and pretended to care while plotting against me. Patricia interjected. Mrs. Patterson has documented everything with Adult Protective Services and her physician. She has filed a police report regarding the medication theft. Whether she pursues charges is up to her, but she has every legal right to do so. Derek stood abruptly. This is insane. You're actually going to destroy your own family over a misunderstanding. I'm not destroying anything, I replied calmly. You did that all by yourselves the moment you decided my pain was acceptable collateral damage for your greed. After everything we've done for you, everything you've done for me, you took my medication. You planned to steal my assets. You were willing to commit me if I resisted. What exactly have you done for me, Derek? He had no answer, nor did Nicole, who continued to cry into her hands. I think we're done here, Patricia stated. You're free to leave. Mrs. Patterson's new estate documents are already filed and executed. Any attempts to contest them will be met with the full recording submitted as evidence of elder abuse. They left without another word. Derek stormed out first, his face flushed with anger. Nicole lingered, attempting to apologize and explain, but her words felt empty. They always had been. Once they departed, I sat in that conference room with Patricia and felt something I had not felt in months. Peace. Are you okay? Patricia asked gently. I will be, I replied, and I meant it. In the weeks that followed, Derek attempted to call several times, but I did not answer. Nicole sent letters that I returned unopened. They had made their choices and now had to live with the consequences. I changed my locks and security codes, ensuring my medication was secure and my home was mine again. Emma called me, crying, asking what had transpired. I told her the truth, though not all of it, as she did not need to carry that burden. But enough. She apologized for her mother's behavior and promised to visit when she returned from college. She is a good girl, and I have faith she will do something meaningful with her inheritance. My health improved as my medication became secure and stress diminished. The pain became manageable, and I began physical therapy, gradually regaining my ability to walk. Frank's scholarship fund will begin accepting applications next semester, and the Women's Shelter has named a wing in honor of our donation. The food bank sent a thank you letter that moved me to tears, not from sadness, but from knowing that something good emerged from something so painful. I am 72 years old. I have survived betrayal from those I loved most. I have learned that family is not always defined by blood, and blood does not always equate to family. Most importantly, I have discovered that while pain may bend you, it does not have to break you. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. With love and respect.